What up, world? What up, world? What up, world? Welcome back to the 818 Sports Talk podcast. I'm your host, JoJo Lake Show. Good evening, everyone, on this beautiful Friday night. Wanted to check in with y'all, man. It's the day after Mamba Day. Happy belated Mamba Day to all the Mamba mentality folks out there. What a day. 8:23 2 days ago, 8:24 yesterday. Mamba Day is the day. So I want to welcome y'all tonight, man. First and foremost, before we get started, make sure that you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. We can catch us on all of your platforms there. Spotify, iHeartRadio. Catch us here on Spreaker. Thanks again, Spreaker, for giving us the ability to have this show and record these episodes for y'all and hit y'all with these good content, great content. I think it's great content, but some of y'all might just think it's good. I think it's great, and hopefully y'all, as we get through this, it gets greater and greater and greater. You feel me? But make sure you guys like and subscribe. Make sure you do follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mamba Mentality Smitty, as well as go ahead and follow my co-host there, Mr. It Is True Now on X, and you can follow me on Instagram at MacTime24. That's MACTYME 24. Once again, that's MacTime24 on Instagram. And follow my boy Coach Rowe on Instagram, Coach Rowe 19 on Instagram. So, what I wanted to hit y'all with you here, the flyover right now. I live in the direct flight path of the Burbank Airport. But what we wanted to get in tonight, man, first and foremost, I'm going to get into the Mamba Day. That's going to be the first thing we get into today. A little bit of news that came through the pipe earlier today on the trade front with my favorite football team, the San Francisco 49ers. Also going to get a little bit of Laker talk tonight. Go over some little bit of news in regards to potential down the road, maybe bringing the Greek Freak. Wouldn't that be nice? Also talk about the ongoing conversation with the Los Angeles Lakers about that 14th roster spot, as well as who is going to start. Want to get into that. Is it going to be Rui or is it going to be Vando? Because we kind of already know the other four who are going to start. I mean, there's a little bit of debate about who's going to start for the Lakers at the point guard spot, but not in my eyes, no debate. But that wing spot, that 4 spot, could potentially be a swing, in my opinion, on how good this team is going to be next year. But let's get into the first thing. First and foremost, like I said, Mamba Day. Man, we lost in January 26th of 2020. We lost California's own. I say California because he ran the whole state. But LA's adopted son, I guess. I was going to say native son, but adoptive son, man. He came here at a 17-year-old draftee, 18-year-old his first year from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania at 6'6" guard, Kobe Bean Bryant. Yesterday was Mamba Day, everyone. Hopefully everyone had an opportunity to share stories with their loved ones and friends and co-workers and former teammates, current teammates about what he meant to you guys and how much he's impacted your life on not only at the sports level, far as on the basketball court or in the football field or on the diamond or on the soccer field or on the rink, because his mentality spread athletic worldwide, right? I hope you got a chance to share all those stories and how much he impacted you. Got an opportunity to kind of check out some of those murals or go over some of those old pictures and old videos, pull up recorded games, things like that, man, because over these last couple of days, man, it's been pretty hard for myself. I mean, I've said it multiple times. If you guys have kind of checked out our logo, Kobe is a driving force for a lot of things, man. That's my idol. And it's kind of odd to say that's my idol. He'd be 45 years old if he was alive with us today. Rest in peace to the Bean. I'm going to be 42 next week. So it's not like we are so distant when it comes to age, but just the fact that he reached that athletic pinnacle that we all strive to as young hoopers, to potentially get to the league at some point. I mean, a lot of us kind of started off with obviously making a high school team. Then after that, going to high school, you're going to progress to college, and then hopefully you get get good enough, perform well enough, get recognized enough to have the opportunity to make it to the NBA. And as a high schooler, I looked up to that dude. That dude was exactly where everyone wanted to be. There was no way in hell a lot of us could even get close to sniffing the league out of high school at a guard position. You're not 7 foot tall. You're not 300 pounds or 280 as a freshman or 260 as a freshman, going into college or coming out of college or as a sophomore, or even, like I said, as an 18-year-old guy. If you're not a big man, you weren't getting drafted. That man was the first guard drafted out of high school. Electrifying guard. Looked up to all the Laker greats because he got a lot of the Laker tapes from his grandparents who shipped him to him overseas so that we have some connection to the American game, and studied all the guys we all grew up watching, the Lakers, the Wilkes, the Worthies, the Kareems, the Scotts, the Coopers. He even studied the Baylors and the again the Wilkes, and you add in the West, and you add in the Connie Hawkins, and you add in the Dr. J's, and of course the Michael Jordans, and so on and so forth. And of course his father, who was a hooper, right? Joe Jelly Bean Bryant. But it's a guy you looked up to. That man came into the league and was ready to take the league by storm. I'm going to let a lot of you youngsters in on something. I know you guys like to kind of poo-poo, downgrade, down-talk, minimize, whatever other terminology or adjective you want to ascribe to it. You really do not give the credit to the generation that comes before you, and rightfully so, because the generation that came before you tend to not give you guys the credit for how athletic you are and how smart you are, and how much knowledge that you guys have had at the fingertips and been able to like absorb and then utilize and innovate and kind of change the way of thinking. They don't give you guys the flowers that you deserve. So in turn, you guys tend to not give the flowers that they deserve and kind of undermine and again minimize their accomplishments and what they were able to achieve in their day, in their generation. I personally believe that generations should be celebrated on their own merits. The 80s were the 80s, the 90s were the 90s, the early thousands were the early thousands, the 10s were the 10s, and we're in the 20s, right? Each generation was great in its own right, had its own style of play. We had a fast, breaking, high-pressure time in the 80s where guys were running up and down. The scores were in breakneck paces and breakneck and high scores. Denver's scoring 120s and all that, and that's without them shooting the threes and things like that, to the bruising slog type style that was the 90s, where you got the New Yorks and the Indianas and the Charlottes and the Clevelands and even the Lakers. When their showtime, you have the post showtime or the birth of the Lake Show, right? To where things were a lot more physical. The game was really grinded down. Individuals and one-on-one play kind of accentuated itself in the 90s through the likes of Michael Jordan. Going into the early thousands, where you have a high center play, focused on the centers and the power forwards. That was like the birth of the scoring power forwards who can not only dominate the paint, but able to kind of stretch it a little bit outside. Not necessarily to the three-point line, but from the 15 to 18-foot range, guys being able to kind of still running through the bigs, but kind of a little bit spreading the court. Then you had the wing era in the early thousands and kind of weaving into the teens and the tens, right? Where it was some wing and some pace and space and pick and roll offense. And it's every era has its own thing that makes them unique onto themselves, right? And reason why I kind of got into that is because Kobe, man, like there's a lot of young hoopers that love Kobe, look up to Kobe, call them Kobe is their GOAT, kind of compare him to Michael Jordan, say that that's their Michael Jordan. Obviously, they're going to pay homage to LeBron James as the great player that he is, top two in my eyes, no lower than that. I say he's probably the greatest, man, knowing that Jordan is that dude. So, I mean, I'll go back and forth. If I'm Tuesday, I'm Jordan. Wednesday, I'm LeBron. Thursday, I'm Kobe. Because I understand how great these guys are. And just the advanced analytic culture that has been birthed in this era does guys like Kobe a disservice. And the reason why it does guys like Kobe a disservice because Kobe was the guy I was the finisher. I'm the guy who's going to finish plays, make the plays for my team, be the scorer, be the leader, be the bad guy, and efficiency be damned. You feel me? Like, we're really heavy on efficiency. Like, how efficient are you? How do you get these shots off? How are you impacting the game? What's your plus minus? What's your LeBron stat, as the guys like to use in the blogger sphere and in the podcast world, and what's your, kind of moving over from the baseball world, where they got wins above replacement, wins added is a lot of, you hear that a lot in basketball. But a guy like Kobe, man, wasn't about efficiency. He was about results. It was about winning and winning his way. Now, granted, may not always turned out the way that he wanted or what we wanted as fans of Kobe and the Lakers, but you knew that the desire was in the right place. The heart was in the right place. The work ethic was in the right place. The attention to detail was in the right place. The sheer will, skill, the footwork, the tactical nature of Kobe Bryant made it so it kind of got lost. And he was in that weird spot, right, where you're just coming off of Jordan dominating the game. Now, I know Jordan came back in the early thousands, right? But that was the shell of Jordan. But that lasting image of that crossover, push-off, mid-range jump shot over Byron Russell kind of encapsulated like his era, right? And you got guys coming off of that. Who's going to be the next Michael? Was it Grant Hill, who was kind of more leaning towards a Magic sort of thing, Magic Pippen kind of comparison, but still the next face of the league? Is it going to be Vince, the next face of the league? Is it going to be guys like Paul Pierce, the next face of the league? Baby Jordan, Harold Miner, dunking and doing all these crazy things in college, thinking like, hey, he's going to be able to translate that over to the NBA. And then you have this skinny kid from Lower Merion High School who Jerry West would tell you was destroying everyone. Michael Cooper is one of the greatest defensive guards in the history of the game. Should be a Hall of Famer, but that's neither here nor there. But one of the greatest defensive guards in the history of the game. And Kobe made him remember why he recently retired. Because that's how good he was. That's how skilled he was as a youngster. Destroying guys like Stackhouse. Making Kerry Kittles look like he was lunch meat. And destroying UCLA workouts. Killing the midnight runs with Magic. Like all these things that guys like myself had an opportunity to see, with the exception of the midnight runs and Magic. But, being able to see Kobe play at the Venice beaches and see him play in the UCLA gym and seeing him, ball out in these classics before he got into the NBA or a year after that, right? That dude was a genius, man. Quick story. So, at the time when Kobe gets drafted, I'm living in Vegas, right? And going into my sophomore, was at the sophomore year, ending of my sophomore year, going into my senior year, right? Now, mind you,